Hello and welcome to the Weekly Fix. I'm your host Zane and your other host,
Jacob?
and we're here with a kind of interesting episode this week. We have absolutely nothing to break down for you guys. There's no current shows that we're keeping up with weekly releases on. No big movies have dropped that we've recently watched. So we're gonna go with a complete get to know us episode with a bunch of questions that we just get to talk about some of the stuff we haven't got to talk about yet or introduce you guys to that side of us. So, Jacob, are you excited for this episode?
Yeah, I think this will be a fun episode to kind of get to branch out a little more. When we first started this podcast, we didn't really want it to be, just a breakdown or just like a Marvel, just a Star Wars podcast. We did want it to be a lot more. Just so happens that we decided to start the podcast probably in one of the most busy Marvel and Star Wars times we've ever had. So obviously that took up a lot of time, but I think this will be fun because this is going to be a little bit more of the episode maybe we were wanting to do. Obviously, we would love to have something to talk about, something to break down a little bit, but I think this will be a good, way of us branching back out to what we originally started with this podcast.
Yeah, and we do have a bunch of trailers and some news to dive into,
Yep.
which we'll get to later down in the topics. But one of the things when we talked about starting this podcast is we said we wanted to talk about gaming, and we haven't talked about gaming like at all, I don't think.
No. Maybe
So
with the exception of a few little saying that we game here and there, but never really talked about it.
yeah, I think we may have mentioned the fact that we have played Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order
hmm
in one of the Ahsoka shows breakdowns. But my first question for you is, do you have like a top video game, or like let's just talk about some of the franchises that you grew up playing and like what you still like to play?
Well, unfortunately, and I actually do use that word because I was one of those Call of Duty kids growing up, right? I played nothing but Call of Duty. I played some Battlefield here and there, but if it wasn't a first person multiplayer shooter, I wasn't playing it, right? So there's been a lot of games that I've missed out on throughout my life. So if you want to talk about favorite franchises, I still absolutely love Call of Duty. It would be wrong of me to say that it's not my favorite just because even to this day, it's probably the game I still put the most time into because it has just been something I've always loved. I have a bunch of friends that play it, and a lot of that is a big reason of why we play games, right? You spend a lot of time with your friends. I remember back in the day when you were trying to decide if you wanted a PlayStation or an Xbox, you usually went with whatever your friends had so you could play with them. So I would say that's a big thing of what type of games you play is what are your friends playing. So obviously Call of Duty, I've played that more than any other game, and it's not even close. But thankfully this year I have some friends that started to branch out, and I met some other friends and stuff like that that actually do a lot more single player games. And I gotta say, we talked about Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order. The Jedi series is absolutely one of my favorite game series of all times. I have such a blast playing those. I finally got introduced into the Spider-Man series on PlayStation this year, and I got to say, I think I like those even more than the Jedi games. They are just some of the most epic, fun video games I've ever played. So I would say starting off, just to start this discussion, those are probably what I would put up there. I know me and you really enjoy playing Apex, which we haven't got to do any recently, but there for a while we were playing a lot. So stuff like that is my favorite. Just having fun, hanging out with friends. I think that's what gaming's all about.
Yeah, and that's actually funny because for me growing up, we never had the internet.
hmm
We didn't have we first off we just didn't want it in the house, but then also like we wouldn't have even had access to high speed internet enough to game.
hmm
So the first time I ever played um, like an online video game with someone else was at my cousin's house. We played a Call of Duty, and like, but like I was the youngest one there, so I really wasn't allowed to play. As you know, my brother and my cousin took turns. Um, and so like that's completely opposite from what I had growing up because I grew up on, Crash Bandicoot,
hmm
Sly Cooper, Jack and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Uncharted, Gran Turismo, Need for Speed, all of those single player games, like the single player adventure character building. That's what I absolutely loved. It wasn't until I was actually married and out of the house that I even played the first like game I actually played online was Fortnite. As crazy as that sounds, um, but like that's what I and then I kind of fell in love with BRs just because of
Hmm.
how like everyone, like you said, everyone was playing it. My coworkers were playing it. My brother, who I didn't get to see anymore because we lived in different cities, he would get on and play it, and it was a really good way to stay connected with people that you hadn't got to play again. And then they all left and went to Warzone, and I was like, no, not Call of Duty, because I just um, I'm not a lover of Call of Duty because like I didn't grow up on it, so I wasn't good at it, and but like no one else was playing Fortnite with me anymore, so I switched to Call of Duty and played Warzone and loved and loved and loved that, and then everyone stopped playing Warzone, went to something else, and really when Cold War dropped, I was done, like I was frustrated. I was like, man, this like they kind of ruined it. Like I spent so much time getting like all of the guns upgraded, and then they just like every gun that I worked on was now not viable, and I just made me so mad. I swore off Call of Duty forever because of the game mode. Like you have to play X amount of hours to even enjoy the game, and I
Yep.
hated that. I despise that. So I went to Apex, which if you don't play for 3 months, you come back. Guess what? You can still enjoy the game because it doesn't matter. You drop in, you have the same opportunity to get guns as everyone else, and yeah, you might be a little rusty, but so I'm a big adventure guy, adventure game lover. Jedi Survivor was amazing. Gears of War was also another favorite. Me and my cousin used to play that all the time. Multiplayer offline, and then also the campaign. And when Gears of War 3 had a co-op campaign, that was incredible. So those are really kind of the games that I grew up on. But my favorite one of those franchises definitely probably Ratchet and Clank. I spent more time playing that than anything else growing up, and still love it. I was just waiting to get time so that I can buy Rift Apart, the newest one that just got PC ported.
Hmm.
So I'm really excited to play that one.
Yeah, I just love, I've really, like I said, playing single player games. I could probably count on my fingers the amount that I played as a kid that are single player games. And I don't even know if I completed most of those. I'm a huge fan of the
Oh man.
Borderlands games. So those I always completed. I thought the Borderlands games were a lot of fun. But literally, if it wasn't a first person multiplayer game, dude, I did not play it. And I hate that so much now because I'm like, man, I have so much to catch up on. So you can look at that as a good or a bad thing. But my game backlog is just absolutely ginormous because I'm having to play games back from like PS2 era, PS3 era. And you don't realize how long ago that's been. I see pictures all the day that's like, oh, the PS1 is like 30 years old or something. And I'm like, what in the world? So it's just crazy that we have all these games to play. But yeah, Ratchet and Clank is actually one of those games I've never played. I think the only one I ever played was on a PSP when I was
Oh,
little,
the worst one.
and yeah, I don't even remember what the name of it was.
It's called
Um,
Clank. It wasn't even a Ratchet and Clank game. It was just Clank.
yes,
Agent Clank.
so that must have been the one I played, and I liked it, but like I said, I never played any of the others, so it probably was the worst one, but I had no idea. But
Yeah.
those are games I'm looking forward to actually getting to play soon. Those are some that are on my list to play this upcoming year. I've really got into recently going like 100% in games, so like getting all the achievements or the trophies or whatever it is in the whatever console, or if you play on Steam, getting all the Steam achievements and stuff like that. That's been one of my favorite things. So I have a whole list of games that I'm planning to do next year that I want to at least get one game 100% in each month. So I think I can do
Oh,
that if I just have
daggum.
time to play on the weekends. Because some of those games are really only like 20-hour games. So giving me a whole month to play like a 20-hour single player game, I think should be pretty easy. But there's a few in there that I put in there that I don't know I'll be able to do. So it's going to be a fun little thing to challenge myself to do. And, I'm still going to be playing Call of Duty and stuff just to play with my friends. So that's just something I'm excited for because, like I said, I have so many single player games to catch up on.
Now, have you played the Uncharted series at all?
That is actually one of the ones on my list. That one's very high on my list because I actually have all of them. I remember
Oh,
when they came out on the PS3 and stuff. Um, well, I guess not when they first came out, but I guess right around when the third one came out, they had like a little 2 game bundle that came with the first two. So I bought that. I played probably about through 75% of the first one. I didn't finish it though, and then obviously I never played the second one because I remember the third one came out and I didn't play the single player part of the third one, but I played the multiplayer because me, I was a multiplayer junkie. So I played the multiplayer of the third one, but never the story. So those are pretty high on my list. Because I've just heard nothing but good things from those, and I'm actually really excited to play the fourth one because I've heard that one might be the best in the whole franchise. So
So I love the Uncharted series. We actually rented the first Uncharted from Blockbuster and got to the final level and ran out of time and had to return it in for one weekend. So we played that one, um, and then I 100%ed 2 and 3, which were both amazing. But then now I'm an Xbox. I moved over to Xbox and couldn't get the fourth one. Um, and so I actually haven't got even to play the best one apparently. But it was like it's high on my list. If I had a PS5, I would definitely be getting
uh-huh.
those to play.
Yeah, there's just something I love those. Like I just heard so many good things about those. Another huge game on my list I never played. I played through maybe an hour of it was Skyrim. I don't know if you played much Skyrim, but that game
Oh
is.
yeah,
Everyone tells me I need to do it like soon. So that one is pretty high on my list. That's like I said, the hour or so that I played of it really enjoyed. But I just get bored playing single player games a lot of the time. But thankfully with Discord and stuff, makes it so much easier that I can still hang out and talk to my friends while playing a single player game. And I think that's been a big reason why I've been so much more drawn to them, because obviously the stories are incredible. They're very, they do catch your attention. They catch everything about you. But I would just get bored not having anyone to talk to or anything. So Discord has definitely been a huge help because I actually have people to talk to while I'm playing those games. So that's made it a lot more fun.
yeah. Speaking of like parties and games, Game of the Year just got announced as Baldur's Gate. Do you have any interest
Mhm.
in playing that one?
I do. I do want to play it just because I feel like from everything I've read and heard about it, I've heard it is just, you know, a phenomena of a game. One of those games that you might not ever see again. So that's something I'm very interested in. I've never played any games like that with like the, turn-based type combat I believe it has and like
Like Final
that type of
Fantasy?
stuff. Yeah, I've never played any of the Final Fantasies. Really not played. I know they categorize just about everything nowadays as RPGs, but some of those
Yeah.
actual traditional RPGs I've never played. So something on I have to get one of those next year just to experience it.
Okay. Okay. That's good. Yeah, I actually had a friend talk to me the other day about him and another guy were doing a campaign. I didn't even know he was playing the game. I was just raving about how good it was, and I was
Hmm.
like, okay, maybe this is something I need to get as well. So, but good. So you're a Call of Duty fanboy. You love
Yeah.
grinding. You love grinding and putting ridiculous amount of hours into something to
Yep.
just make the game enjoyable. And that's what I don't like about it. We talked a little bit offline, and I've sworn off Call of Duty games. I
Uh,
will not play one again. Um, and it does work well for like teenagers and people that have a lot of time. But as someone who is married and has kids, there's just no way I can put enough time into that game now to enjoy it to its full extent. And that's why I love single player games, is because hey, I don't have to spend hours at a time practicing and being good at a game to even enjoy it, or
yep.
to like unlock everything to where it's full potential. You can hop on, you can play a little bit, okay, log off and get off. Now, um, and that's I think that at the point I am in my life, that's why I enjoy those games way more. And I have sworn off Call of Duty forever.
Well, it's funny you say like you talked about big fan of BRs. I'm actually I know I'm in the minority when I say this because games like Fortnite are literally having like record years. I mean, they're breaking their all-time player count, which is insane that it's doing it how many years after it came out, after all that
4.
hype it originally had. It's crazy that it's getting to those numbers and actually surpassing them again. But I tried the new Warzone out. I'm just not a fan of BRs anymore. That's one of the reasons I haven't played Apex much recently. There's something about it. It has just I'm trying to just over it. I feel like everything has been a BR lately. And you were talking about having to spend so much time into things. One thing I will say about Call of Duty, you do have to grind a lot just to get the guns leveled up and all that stuff. But it is nice to be able to hop into like a quick play match, play a couple games of team deathmatch in a matter of seconds just because how fast it gets you into a lobby, how fast the games go. stuff like that. So that's one thing I have enjoyed with Call of Duty is even when I don't have a ton of time to play, if I have like 45 minutes to an hour, I can hop on, work on leveling up a few things, and then hop off. So that's one thing I will say in defense of Call of Duty. I will say, of course, I got to defend it because I'm the fanboy here, but
Oh
that
man,
is one thing I really like about it.
well, I mean, I loved Modern Warfare 2. I
Hmm.
loved it. I got Damascus. I did the ultimate camo. I maxed out everything on the guns. And that's why like I was so mad when all of that work was like I couldn't even
Gone.
use the gun anymore because it was
Yeah.
just so bad. And like so that like I did enjoy it. Like I do enjoy Call of Duty games, but the way that they treated that game and like it wasn't even like it was like, hey, we got a new game. And if you want to play the new game, then you can. No, it was the game I was playing got ruined when they added another game to it. And that's when I was like, you know what? Forget these guys. Forget them.
Well, it's so funny though. I know you said you didn't. That has been the model for years with Call of Duty.
Oh,
After
I know.
when the next one comes out, kiss all your stuff in the previous one goodbye. Like I have actually already in Modern Warfare 3 grinded to get the mastery camo Interstellar. I already have it finished. And I know next year it's going to be not even in the game anymore. So that's something you just as a Call of Duty kid you get used to. But I can totally understand from someone that hadn't really ever dived into a Call of Duty, and when you finally do and you love it, and then it's just all gone. I could totally understand that. But I have been trained in the Call of Duty ways since I was a wee little lad. So
Manipulated
yeah,
in the Call of Duty ways to think that
so
something like that is okay, to take someone's hard-earned work and all the time and all the effort and just push it down the drain. Oh my goodness.
well, see, you're
What,
also
man, you're
talking to
making
the
me so mad.
You're also talking to the kid though, like going back to like Black Ops 2, for instance. I remember in that game, I got to the max level, which was the Master Prestige. I got all the camos, and in those games, you had an ability to reset your stats and literally start back from level one. So I remember the summer that game was out, I did that 12 times. I got to the
Oh
max
my
level, got
goodness.
everything. Back then, it
That's
was just diamond. And then I
ridiculous.
would just reset my stats and start over. So you're talking to someone that doesn't mind having it taken from them because I was literally
Oh
doing it to myself back
no.
then.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, talking about back in the day in summers, I did have another question, especially to like for video games. I was curious, do you have a top video game memory? And I know like video games, for our generation, we grew up playing them. You have to have so many, but is there one that kind of sticks out to you more than any others?
I wouldn't say it's a specific memory, but I remember when Call of Duty Advanced Warfare came out. I was so big into competitive Call of Duty and all that stuff. And I mentioned this a little bit when we were texting. I spent literally, I would play that game for 22, 24 hours straight, get off, sleep for like 6 hours, and then get right back on the game. I was absolutely addicted. It wasn't uncommon for me to stay up for 38, 39 hours straight just playing because I was always playing for like tournaments or I was playing wager matches, all that sort of stuff. And just that grind of having, I had a little team. We would just, all four of us would get on every single day, do that exact same thing for, like I said, 20 plus hours, get off, get right back on and do it again the next day. I absolutely love those memories, just hanging out with those friends, talking to them, the countless laughs and stuff. I would give anything. I hear people talk about it all the time. I wish you could go back and just rewatch some of those memories that you had because back then I couldn't stream. I didn't have stuff to upload YouTube videos. So literally it's all just gone now. But I would give anything just to go back and just watch some of those days of us just all playing together and stuff like that because I'll never be able to do stuff like that again. When you become an adult, you have a job, we're both married. You have a lot of other things you have to do. I mean, you have kids. I'm not at that point in my life yet, but you just don't have time to play games like that anymore. So just those memories of literally having nothing else to do, like not a care in the world, that is by far my favorite thing I've probably ever done in gaming was just literally so committed to something. We all thought we were going to be pro players. But you realize there's a lot more that goes into it than just being good. So
Dang, that's something I can't like even comprehend. Um, just that level of commitment to something.
yeah, we were
But
crazy.
man, that had to be. And you said you even mentioned you were some of the top level streamers today, you were bodying in those tournaments, right?
Yeah, dude. Back in the day, I mean, when I was playing that much, and I tell you, to be a pro player, you have to be doing more than just be good at it. Like I said, if you weren't able to stream, you weren't able to grow a brand. I mean, back then that was such a big part of it, right? Was because it was so small back then. So like, if you didn't have a brand and you weren't able to, showcase your skills rather than it just being in one match, because I wasn't able to record the games or anything like that. That's you didn't really have a chance if you weren't streaming and stuff like that. But yeah, man, back in the day, we used to play against people that are pros today in like wager matches and tournaments. And obviously, you're going to lose some, but we won a bunch of them too. So that was just like I said. You get into a lobby with them, and back then they were pros. Like people like Scumpy and stuff like that. We would play wagers, or back then they had pro point matches and stuff. We would play in those and play against those guys. So it was always really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't have I have like a favorite like kind of memory, and then I have like my favorite memory from like after I was an adult playing video
hmm
games. So the one like growing up, my favorite memory was just me and my cousins. We used to always stay the night at my grandma's house, and we would just stay up at ridiculous hours, not 20 hours straight, but like, we'd stay up all night essentially
Yeah.
playing like Tekken and Soul Calibur and Gears of War, and like just a blast. And so those memories, like for me, just stand out like so vividly, like how much time like we spent playing like like Mad Dash like on the Xbox. I remember just like so many great memories there with my cousins and my brother, just having a wonderful time. And just like you, like man, I just wish that I could like sit there and relive some of those moments
Yeah.
and go back and like what a special time that was, to be able to do. But then like my favorite memory from like after I guess I left the house, was actually I got to participate in a MWR tournament, which is like morale, welfare, recreation for the
Uh,
Navy, because of my job, and I actually got to win that tournament with a few of my friends. It was a Modern Warfare 2, not I guess it was what's dude? I'm blanking on the battle royale. Warzone. It was
oh
a
yeah, yeah.
Warzone. It was a Warzone tournament kill race, and we
Uh,
actually won that together. It was streamed, and like what an awesome time that was.
yeah.
Like we spent time preparing for it. We had one game where the team had 60 kills, and my friend had 30 kills. It was insanity. We were going crazy. It was streamed live. We were going up against some really good guys, and we actually won that tournament. And like participating in those MWR tournaments was literally like the highlight of that gaming. When like my friends were like, they were all playing the games.
Yep.
They were really good. I was never as good as them. They kind of drug me along. Like, I'm hovering around like a 1.2 KD, and he's sitting up there with like a 3.6 in Warzone, just absolutely murdering people, murking them. So that was like just such a great memory and awesome time. My I can officially say like I made money from gaming. So that was just really cool.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like, there's just nothing like competing in a video game. I mean, you can play your sports, like all that stuff, but the thing about video games is you don't have to be athletic to play them, right? Like anyone can do it, and that's what makes it so fun. Is like it's just such a like a cool experience because literally anyone can do it, and the fact that if you're able to ever win a tournament and stuff like that, it makes it so fun because I'm telling you, man, there's sometimes nothing more competitive than playing video games against your friends.
Oh, super competitive. And like,
Yep.
if you don't have a competitive nature, I don't understand. Like, I just don't understand that because, like, growing up and playing basketball and competing in actual tournaments against other people, like that drive, like, it's nice to have something where you can get that outlet again. Because even like
Yes.
playing pickup basketball is one thing, but like, I'm never going to play in the state tournament again,
Nope.
which is like, those memories you'll never get back, which those live, in my on replay in my head forever. So like to get something that it gives you that drive and that competitive nature is really cool, even though it doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, 100. That's been my biggest thing. I talk about it all the time. Like to have an outlet to be competitive because I'm the same way. that was a big problem with me when I wanted to play single player games. Is I was like, there's just nothing competitive about it, and that's why I was so addicted to Call of Duty and stuff like that. Is because that's where I was getting that itch. Whenever you're not playing basketball, you're not playing whatever sport you might like. It's just a way, and you can do it literally all times of the day, right? Basketball, you have
Yep.
to have other people to play with. I mean, you can practice yourself, but you can play against anybody just about any time of the day in video games. So there's always a chance, you're feeling a little bit itch. You can just go play something and get that itch satisfied. So that's one of my favorite things about gaming for sure.
Yeah, and such a fun time, man. It's awesome that you're that good, and it shows with even the games that we played together. We never played Call of Duty, and I think I'd just get embarrassed. But it'd be with Apex, like you're clearly like on another level. So it's paid dividends even today for you.
Oh, so much of it, you don't realize how much of it's muscle memory. Like when you're playing, like when I was little, I never thought about stuff like that. But like nowadays, I'm like, I can go like for a long time without playing and get back on, and it's like riding a bike, right? You start
Yeah.
playing and get the controller, my fingers warm up, and I'm like right back to where I was. Obviously, you're gonna miss some parts. You're not gonna be as good as when you were playing all those hours, but a lot of it is still there. So that's always a fun thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool one day to your kids like, I challenge you to any game, and
Oh
you like
man,
get up and murk them at
yeah. Oh,
Call of Duty.
I'm gonna be that dad. You see pictures of like kids, their dads playing their kids in Madden, and it's like 256-0. That's gonna be
Yeah,
me if they ever want to play like Call of Duty. It'll be like 250 kills to nothing. So
that's awesome.
yeah, I'm 100. You can't give them the easy way.
Oh
That's not
no,
fair. I grinded my whole life for this moment.
yeah, you gotta earn those wins.
Yes, yeah, they gotta earn that kill against me.
That's awesome. But okay, so switching gears here, I have another question. It's kind of so we've talked a ton about Star Wars. We've talked a ton about just Marvel shows and a lot of other things. But like, I was curious. Do you have a now this is a very specific genre, and I wanted to make it like very clear. But a favorite standalone TV show that is a completed work with multiple seasons that is not comic book based.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit over text, and I think I blew your mind a little bit. I am not that. I can't do it. Something about, for instance, a lot of people love The Office, and I do think it's a good show. I've seen clips from it. I've watched episodes and all that stuff. But let me tell you, you will never, ever catch me watching that show just for fun. I just won't do it. I cannot watch shows for fun. I don't know what it is. There has to be something that's really like overall interesting me. That's why Marvel and Star Wars are such a big thing for me. I do like game shows a lot, and when I say game shows, I don't know, not like Wheel of Fortune and stuff like that, but more like
Family Feud.
no, not even stuff like that. Like if you consider, I guess it's probably considered reality TV, like Survivor. Me and my wife love that show. That stuff interests me. But just talking about a completed work, something that I can just throw on the TV, I
Oh,
won't do it.
so this isn't like that specifically. Like more along the lines of any TV show that's completed that you have watched a series. Like I know a lot of people may say like Peaky Blinder,
Okay.
or the big favors like Breaking Bad. I was curious if you've seen any of those that you like. That's my number one.
Man, I guess the only thing I could say, and it's not completed, is the only thing I've probably watched from start to finish at this point in my life, and it's not finished, is Stranger Things. Stranger Things is my favorite show of all
Okay,
time. But,
I I
I've
figured
never
that
seen
was what you were gonna say.
yeah, I've never seen a single episode of Breaking Bad. Me and Danielle tried. She loves Peaky Blinders. There's just something about it. It just does not catch my interest like it does hers. I don't think it's a bad show. I think it's a really good show, and it's probably something I'll eventually finish. But I just have no desire to really binge watch it. And yeah, most of those shows like that, I'm trying to think if there's any other shows I've ever completed, and there's just not. I used to never
Oh
watch TV
man.
growing up, so
Yeah, you're too
you
busy
know,
playing 20 hours of
yes,
Call of
literally. I
Duty.
literally did not watch TV ever. I would watch like
Wow.
some sports games and stuff like that, but that's another thing I wish honestly I could go back and change, because you hear all these people talk about, oh, I love that cartoon, I loved this. I didn't have that because I just didn't watch it. And it's not that I wasn't able to. I just chose not to because I wanted to play Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
So that's just that I'd never, man, talking about completed works or anything like that. I just don't have them, and maybe there's one that I'm missing. that's just slipping my mind right now. But I got to tell you, it would be one show probably that's slipping my mind right now because I never watch TV like that.
Wow. Okay, so like for me, I love TV and in movies and like honestly, I think every night of college, I think I watched a movie. I think every single night. Um and so like we had shows that we loved and I grew up watching Seinfeld and The Office, and Friends and King of Queens. So I was a big sitcom guy and like still today like just like last week we finished Friends cuz it's like it's a good show like when you don't have like an hour like before bed, like you got like, 40
Yeah, 30
minutes or
minutes or
something,
something. Yeah.
okay, throw on an episode of Friends, you kind of chill out, your mind relaxes, and then you can go to bed. Um, so like we love those shows, but like for me, man, standalone completed work has to be Dark. It's a Netflix original. It's a German show, so you got to read it in subtitles. But Dark is such a super amazing, complex show that is just mind bending. It's so well thought out. There's no holes in logic. It's like they knew where they were going and they went there. And so like I love Dark, and I would recommend it to anyone who is willing to watch it. And I mean, I know you can dub it in American, like you can dub it to American. You can dub it to English, American. You can tell I'm from West Virginia, but you know, um, you can dub it to English. But I would highly recommend leave it in German, read the subtitles, because boy, are you going to have to pay attention to the show. That's not a show that you can watch with your phone out. It is way, I mean, it is just amazing, and you have to watch it now. Like, I would say
I,
put Dark on your list.
I'm sure it's something I'll watch, and I have to agree with you though. I don't like subtitles. I don't even put subtitles on when I'm watching a show in English. Just don't like them. So I have a hard time sometimes with that. But I will not, if a show is in a different language, I will not change the language because the mouth's not matching what is actually like being
Oh, it,
said.
it oh, it's crazy.
It drives me nuts, right?
I can't
One
do
thing
it.
when you mentioned that, one thing I did love Squid Game. Me and my wife watched Squid
Okay,
Game actually
okay.
on our honeymoon. That was our show we watched like
Nice.
each night. Yeah, so random,
Squid Game.
but we watched Squid Game and I could not watch it. I had to watch it in its original thing, and that's something I did read the subtitles of. But I told you there was
Yeah.
one show I was probably slipping my mind. That would be the one.
Okay.
Um, and I think that one's not even really finished because I'm pretty sure it's getting a second season. So,
It
but yes,
may.
I did really like Squid Game.
I
But yeah, I'm
I
the same way.
also
I will not. If I watch Dark, I'm gonna watch it in German with subtitles because
good.
I can't do the mouse not matching what's being said.
Now you said if that is a win,
Oh,
right?
my bad. When I watch Dark,
Okay, okay, okay.
let me get that. Let's get it straight real quick. Let me
You
put it.
gotta get
Let
it
me bump
right.
it up on my list. Let me bump it up on my list.
Yeah, I also hate subtitles on anything that's like, and it's got to be like I'm reading because I don't understand what they're saying. Like that's the
Exactly.
only time I have subtitles. Otherwise, I'm like, get this trash off the screen.
Yep.
Like I
100.
want
It's so
to.
distracting.
I have friends that watch everything with subtitles, and like I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you do it. Like,
I
oh, it
can't either.
hurts.
Yep.
Um, but and then I do have another favorite comedy esque show, and that's Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is about a American football coach who goes to England and becomes a Premier League soccer coach, and it's just amazing. I absolutely love Ted Lasso. It just the third season just finished. A little bit disappointing for it, but like, I just love Ted Lasso. Such heartfelt, such a wholesome show. It's awesome. Um,
Well, you mentioned Ted Lasso. My sister and her fiance love Ted Lasso. Like they rant and rave about it all the time. That's one show I've been recommended a lot. So that one's on my list too. I talked about my game backlog being really big, where we started doing the podcast, and I have branched out and I've started to try to watch more things that aren't Marvel and Star Wars. Um, my show watching, backlog is huge too. I mean, there's so many
yeah.
shows I haven't seen. Um, so any recommendations like Ted Lasso, stuff like that, this is a little bit of a plug. But if you guys have a show you think I should watch, make sure to reach out to us. Give us some, feedback. If you have questions about shows or anything like that, this is an opportunity for you guys to do that. But yeah, there's so many shows I have to watch.
Yeah, there is, and shows are tough. Like, so I hadn't watched Breaking Bad, and like we watched all of Breaking Bad and all of Better Call Saul together, and like those are just such a long watch because it's
Yeah.
so long. Now Breaking Bad is good because like each episode like matters, but like if you go back and try to watch The Walking Dead, oh,
Phew. And
dude,
dude, that
that's
show, we've
hard.
talked about it before. It just went on for three too many seasons. Like,
Oh
I
man,
remember
even
that was I credit that show with being the thing that really sparked my inner nerd. Like before that, I really didn't watch shows. Like I said, play Call of Duty. I was not really. I like Star Wars, but I didn't like it like I do today. That show, though, I feel like, and I feel like a lot of people have this sentiment. It almost made being a nerd cool. You know, we talk about that a lot,
yeah,
where it's kind of a cool thing nowadays to watch Marvel, to watch Star Wars. I don't. It used to not be that way, and I feel like The Walking Dead was one of those shows. It was so good, it was so big, and it was based on a comic book that it made it being cool, and it made, I think, like for me, and for instance, it did branch me that show with a lot for me. It did a lot for me, just changing how I view things and stuff I'm interested in. But it just went on for too long. It simply
yeah.
did.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the ending of it. Unfortunately, I do need to finish it. I think I have the last 3 seasons to watch, actually.
Oh, I
uh,
think I'm about. I mean, I know what happens because of the comics and stuff,
yeah,
but I got to the same point with the show. Just felt like it was dragging.
yeah,
So,
but that's all right. It's tough. It's tough when
well,
it's money driven instead of
yeah,
passion driven, and I think
yep.
that's really the issue with a bunch of those like continuous. And that's why I like Dark is because like they knew where the ending was, and that's why I specifically said a completed work because a lot of the times like something can be your favorite, but until you've seen the culmination of it, the finish, like you're like a lot of people would have said Lost in the middle of that, but Lost just didn't know where it was going. It said a bunch of cool stuff, and then like just completely went off the rails, and you're like, man, why am I still watching the show?
Yep.
Um, so but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, very cool. I'm glad you
I
thought
think
of something.
as yeah, I thought of Squid Games, but
Yeah,
that's one season, so
there we go,
it is a
baby.
completed work potentially. We
Yeah.
don't know for
Well,
sure, but we think it is.
now I will say like it does say multiple seasons in the question.
Oh, that's true. So no, it doesn't
Yeah.
count.
Because
Well, I was
I mean,
close. I tried.
Band of Brothers would be mine if it was single season. Have you
Uh,
watched Band of Brothers?
I have not. I have not. Man, I'm telling you, you could.
Dang,
I bet
dude.
you could go right down a list right now of shows you would think I would have watched, and I think you'd be shocked at how many of them I haven't.
I wouldn't ever have a list of things I think you have watched anymore. It would just be
Oh, things I haven't.
things you should watch.
Oh,
Like,
things I need to add to the list.
yes, yeah, yeah. Like, dude, man, you have a lot on it that
Oh,
needs improvement.
I know. I know. It's a work in progress. You got to give me some time.
Oh, we'll get there. Um, okay, so we're touching on a lot of things, but one another question I had. So we've done a little bit of video games, done some TV that's not like our alley. So let's switch back a little bit. Um, what's your favorite comic book run that you've read?
Man, that's a tough one because there's so many good ones. I have been absolutely addicted to, The Last Ronin with the Ninja Turtles. I say that sparked really my entire Ninja Turtle love. I love everything about it now, but before I was really not a big fan. But when I read The Last Ronin, dude, it is just such a great series. And the fact that we are potentially getting a show about it in the future, there's been rumors about, I couldn't be more excited for something like that. Um, you know, that one is very high up there. The Walking Dead is high on my list just because of how much it like meant to me as my first thing. So you always have that love with that first thing that really got you interested in something. So that one's up there. But I gotta say, those are probably the two I would say um, are up there. I am hoping to eventually get to read some of the Invincible comics because I love the show so much, and I could definitely see that potentially getting up there. But I'd have to say, if it's like just right off the top of my head, it's either The Last Ronin or The Walking Dead, just because The Walking Dead of what it means to me, just as a now being a comic book fan and a pop culture fan and stuff like that. And then The Last Ronin was just such an awesome story, and I just love the premise behind it. So I would probably say it's one of those two.
Okay. And two, I haven't read. I haven't read a single Walking Dead comic, and I haven't
Mhm.
read a single Ninja Turtle comic.
Well, I will say The Walking Dead did a very good job in the early seasons of really following the comics. Um, Obviously, there's way more in the comics than the show, but there is some stuff that they changed that I wish they wouldn't have changed, and there are actually big moments that they changed that I feel like they shouldn't have changed. So, do one thing about The Walking Dead, if it is something you're looking at reading or potentially thinking about what you should read next, if you have seen the whole show, you are definitely going to get some different storylines in the comics, which I like. I do like that the comic is different from the show, but I do kind of wish some of the things would have stayed the same because it gives you two different things to read. It is cool that you can read The Walking Dead and not feel like you know what's happening because of how big of the changes were. Um, but that is one thing I would recommend. I think it is really good.
Okay. So my favorite, I know I recommended these to you before, but is Blackest Night is by far my favorite
Yeah.
comic book run with the Green Lantern Corps in DC following Hal Jordan and that epic run. I absolutely love that comic book run. Its art is fantastic. Its storytelling is great. It's kind of a mystery. You kind of like, and then you get all these team up moments with villains and you know superheroes that were dead coming back to life that you're fighting against, and then like just the moments in there, and like the I love the blue lanterns with the hope. It's just like Saint Walker. It's really cool. Like so many, you get such a good broad introduction into the entire Lantern Corps. Each and every one is unique and fun in its super way, and how each color represents an emotion, and like if you're strong in that emotion, like you can be inducted into those. So I absolutely love that one, and you really need to read that one because that one's spectacular. Um, the second favorite would definitely be Civil War, and I read that in college with the from start to finish, all the tie-ins, and that was just such a good Marvel run. I've read a bunch of comics from Marvel, and I do think they're just like they're inferior to the DC comics that I've read, but Civil War was not that way. It was so good, so well thought out, and it was such a massive event. And I really, really loved it. Spider-Man has like so many amazing moments in there. You get Punisher moments, and I even spoke about those in previous podcasts. But like
Hmm.
so many amazing times. They created a synthetic Thor that killed Bill Foster. Like, man, what a crazy ride of story. You really get to see the evil of both sides, and like you're sympathetic with each side, but you clearly have a favorite. And it was such a fun, and I wish I would have been there as part of like as it was going because of how big it was. But even getting to read it in hindsight is really cool as well.
Well,
So,
you mentioned being there when it was, the run when it was currently coming out, dude. There's so many things I wish I could go back. Like for instance, The Last Ronin. That's not something I read as it was coming out. I actually picked up the hardcover for it and read it through that way. And dude, I'm a huge collector. We haven't really talked about that much, but I'm a huge collector of just about anything I'm interested in. I collect video game stuff, comics, huge Funko Pop collector, so stuff like that. Going back and trying to find the original Last Ronin runs and stuff, it's just not easy. And then you got to pay out the pocket for a lot of them. So just going back for just that aspect of it, I wish I could go back. But just being excited for the next run, that is just something I'm always looking for a comic that I can really get behind and be excited for the next run of. Um, because that's got to be such a cool feeling. I haven't really ever got to experience that. So that's something I hope that there's something that really catches my attention that I can really get excited for looking for the next run of something because I feel like that's probably just as exciting as waiting for that next episode of a show.
well, you say like being excited for a comic book run, but like I wasn't even like I had never been to a comic book store until I was 23.
Yeah.
Like I'd never
Oh
been
man.
in one, so like I never even had the opportunity to be excited for a run because I'd never
Right.
read one. I didn't read one until I was in college, and those were all digital.
Right. Well, I was the same way. I never read comics growing up or anything. I think when I read The Walking Dead, I guess that would have been the first one I read because I got the compendium for it during when the show was still going and I was still watching it. So I'd probably say around season 4 or 5. But that was the only comic I read, and it was already pretty much a completed work. I think it might have been completed at that point. I don't remember off the top of my head when it was finished, but um, yeah, I've never gotten to experience that. Looking forward to the next run of something, so I hope to find something that I can really get excited about like that because I feel like that's just such a cool experience. I hear so many like collectors that have been reading comics since they were kids and talking about waiting for the next Spider-Man comic to release, like back when Spider-Man was like new. I can't imagine what that was like, especially knowing what it's become today.
Yeah, that's man. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But okay, now switching gears back to something we commonly do, and that's like the upcoming news and releases that we've got. So we got a show coming up this month. You know what it is. It's called What If. And Jacob, I got a question for you. Did you
Yes.
watch the first season of What
No,
If yet?
I know I haven't. I haven't, but don't hate me because guys, I made a promise to y'all before on this thing that I would binge watch something, and I binge watched Invincible. What If is going to get binge watched, and it's probably going to be this upcoming week.
Of
Because
course.
I don't have much time. Because what is the release date for What If season 2?
December 22nd.
Yeah, so this week, guys, next week's podcast, I will have What If finished. You heard it here first, but yeah, I have not got to watch the first season yet.
Okay, okay. Well, that's fully expected. I actually expected you to binge watch the entire thing on the 21st.
Oh, it might happen, but I did make the promise that I'll get it done for the next podcast. So hopefully it's not the night before like Invincible was.
Okay, well, if it is, that's all right. Hey, I'm excited. I'm really excited for that show, and I think it's going to be a blast. You can't be excited because you haven't watched it yet, but no, just kidding.
I'll get to be excited for like a day because I'll have finished it, and then season 2 will be coming out that next day. So
Hey, man, maybe I mean it may be something you don't like.
I don't know. You showed me when we came and visited you. You did. I watched an episode with you, and I do think it's something I'll enjoy, especially because I like the whole what could have happened. You know, the whole premise of the show. What if? So I think
Yeah,
I'll enjoy it.
yeah. There's a few duds in the first season, but I think there's only like one that I was like, I don't really love that one. All the other ones was a great fun time or like a super interesting watch. So I really enjoyed that show.
Well, listen,
Um,
I've watched through all the Star Wars, the Clone Wars animated show. Listen, talk
oh
about there
man,
being some duds. If I can get
dude,
through all of that,
if
I'm sure I'll be able to make it through What If.
man watching through the Clone Wars, if I saw it was an R2D2 show, dude, I just like skipped it immediately. I was like, forget this. I
Some
cannot
of those
watch
are
a
the best
full.
ones, though. Come on now.
I cannot watch an R2D2 episode. Dude, it killed me.
Uh,
So we also have another movie releasing this month that I'm curious if you have any even interest in watching. If this is something that we'll watch, is Aquaman 2. Are you interested in Aquaman 2 at all?
Listen, if you are a DC fan, don't hate me for this. Absolutely not. I will not watch Aquaman 2. I'm not interested in DC whatsoever right now. The only DC project I'm interested in right now is the Batman. That's absolutely it. I couldn't care less about anything else. Once James Gunn starts his DCU, really actually starts it, then I'll be interested again. I will definitely go watch like what is the Superman movie that what's the name of it? Is it like Superman Legacy or something like
Yeah,
that?
Superman Legacy.
I will go see that. That'll be my reintroduction into DC, but I promise you I will not be seeing Aquaman 2.
Oh man, what if you got an invite and a purchase ticket over Christmas break?
Okay, well then I might go watch it.
Okay, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I mean, so
Because I would like to talk about it.
I the first one was okay, but there's just something about the DC just doesn't like. I like the story building. I like there being a whole universe, which James Gunn is going to do, and I'm excited for that. But right now, I just feel like so much of this stuff is just kind of like, let's get it out there because we've been working on it for so long that we have to put it out. But I don't feel like it's really building towards anything, and I could be wrong, but it just doesn't seem like that's the case right now.
I like things building towards things, and that's cool and all, but like I just like good movies. So like as long as like it's like it doesn't have to build to something for me to like it. Like knowing that this is the last DCEU movie with no tie-ins whatsoever to future projects has no like I don't know. Like I just like Aquaman. Like he's just a cool character.
I
And
will say Jason Momoa does do an extremely good job as Aquaman. I think he's
for the take they did, yes.
yes, I think he is for what they were going for. I think he did a very good job. And like I said, I did like the first one. I didn't think it was terrible, but I feel like it was very hyped up to me before I watched it. So that's probably a reason why I was expecting like the way people had talked about it to me. I was expecting like Civil War type
It
movies,
made a
right? Like that.
billion dollars.
I know it did great, but and everyone, like I said, everyone said it was really good. It just didn't grab my attention, like other DC stuff has in the past. And when I say other DC stuff, I only mean Dark Knight. But
Yeah, comparing it to questionably the best comic book movie
yeah,
of all
maybe one of
time.
the maybe. But
Um,
I think I went
okay.
into that movie expecting something close to that level, and obviously it did not reach that level. Um, but I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I'm more excited. I just want the DCU to get started because I think DC as a whole it needs a reset because I don't feel like it's in a good spot right now.
Yeah, they're just I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. I am excited to watch Aquaman. I will go watch it. I didn't see Flash, and I regret not seeing Flash. But I just it's really difficult when you got a babysitter and you got to go, and
Yeah.
no one else wants to go watch it with you. And I mean that's just a
I think
sign,
that
right?
speaks for itself right there, Zane.
Yeah, you're like, man, I can't even drag someone to this.
Yep.
So I understand. Have you seen? So we got another trailer that I thought was super interesting, and that was Mad Max Furiosa.
Mhm.
Did you watch Mad Max Fury Road?
I did not. I have heard it's good
Okay.
though.
Oh, it is very good. Um, did you see the new trailer for that?
I did not. That's something you'll have to send to me, or I'll have to look up after this.
Okay, I'll send it to you. It looks pretty interesting. It's got a Chris Hemsworth that you're like, wow, is that Chris Hemsworth? It looks like it's got a stellar cast. It looks like a really fun Mad Max movie, which I enjoy those movies. Um, I'm interested to see what they do with it. One trailer I do know you saw because you tweeted about it was the Fallout trailer. Um,
Oh,
what do you
yes.
think about that?
Dude, that's what I'm talking about. When we're talking about upcoming stuff that I'm excited for, that is 100% probably my most anticipated thing coming out soon because I believe that's February. Is that when the trailer? Something around then, maybe. I might. It's close to the beginning of the year. Um, man, I am very pumped for that. You know, post-apocalyptic, all that type of stuff is my jam. I live for it. So that's going to be really cool. The fact it's based on a video game, and they've actually already come out and said it is canon to that universe. I love that. I think that's awesome. So yeah, that one I'm very very excited for.
Yeah, I don't know when it releases, and I think for you, it's actually better because it is a weekly release, I think, from
Yes,
Amazon,
I
right?
believe so. Yep, yep.
April 12th is when it's
April.
releasing.
Okay.
So
Man, that's
we got some
later than
time.
I thought. I could have swore it was earlier than that. But
Uh, well, I mean, the internet can be wrong. So
no, I doubt they're wrong on that one. It probably has it plastered all over their poster or something.
who knows? Um, so we just got now another show that comes out that I'm excited about that me and my wife loved was Reacher, also an Amazon Prime show. I think you said you hadn't watched Reacher,
I have not. Mm-mm.
but that's a really fun show. It's a really good watch, fun watch. Jack Reacher is just a cool character, and his take on it. Man, I'm blanking on the actor's
Who?
name, but
Yeah, I
he
was about to
is.
say who was the actor in
Um,
that show?
oh man, I want to say his name starts with like Alan something.
Uh
Alan. Alan Richardson, I think.
okay.
Yeah, Ritson. He was from Blue Mountain State. If you or like, I think he also was Aquaman in what was like the trash Superman show?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Uh,
It's,
Small town, Smallville, Smallville.
yeah, I think it's Smallville, but you said at the beginning it was that trash Superman show. We can just go with that one.
I I mean, a lot of people are gonna hate me for saying that. It's
I
got a
think it did
seven.
actually have like a pretty solid fan base,
Oh,
but
dude, it has a massive fan base,
let
dude.
me tell you, it ain't it.
It ain't me. Um,
Nope.
no, there you go. Just isolating people here. But yeah, I think he actually was Aquaman in that, maybe. But it's a really fun show, and he put on like 50 pounds of muscle for it. I mean, he got absolutely jacked out of his mind for that show.
It's always cool to really see. I see a lot of those videos of like what these actors go through. It's crazy, dude. Like they're just on a different level when they get like they casted in something and they have to get in shape for it. It's
Oh
unbelievable to see
yeah,
what they're capable of doing.
steroids are pretty amazing.
Oh,
um, oh man, putting all the hot takes out here. Um, and we got two more trailers that I wanted to talk about and see, like, just gauge your interest level before we sign off here. But um, Godzilla X Kong. Any interest in that whatsoever? Have you
so
seen the Godzilla movies? Where are you at?
so the only Godzilla movie I've ever seen is Godzilla versus Kong. The first one that they did. And I told my wife the other day, this will be a movie
Third
I'm
one.
absolutely. Oh, is this the third one?
No,
I thought this was only
Godzilla versus
well,
Kong was the third in a fourth in that series.
yeah. So I meant like just as them actually. I think is that the first one they were both on the like
Yes,
maybe not.
both when they
Yeah,
were both on the screen.
yeah, that's what I meant by that. That's the first one
Okay,
of
okay.
those. And I told my wife we are absolutely going to the movies for that one because I feel like I have to see a Godzilla or a King Kong movie in the theaters because I've never done it before. So
Okay.
that is one I'm actually interested in. The first, the one of them both on that one, I actually enjoyed for what it was. When you can't take those movies too seriously because they're just not. But they are fun. I do love all the explosions and these two titans going at each other. I think it's awesome. I am a Godzilla fan because he is just superior. Let's be honest. But yeah, I'm excited for that one.
Okay, okay. I have only seen the first Godzilla one, the one with Aaron Taylor Johnson in it, and I was just so disappointed that I got to see like 3 minutes of Godzilla in a
Yeah.
2 hour long movie. I was like, man, this is just garbage. But I think they fixed that. So I was recommended by a coworker to go back and watch Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla X Kong, Kong Skull Island. They were like, you really need to give the MonsterVerse a chance because it's really good. So I will do that. I will go watch the MonsterVerse. That's a promise. The first one I've had to make on the show.
Man, you need to
And
catch up, man. I've had to make a lot.
I know.
And guess
Well,
what? I'll give promise number 2. I will watch the MonsterVerse stuff with you. So that's
okay,
something you guys can look forward to on the podcast in the future. We'll be breaking down some of the MonsterVerse movies.
that's right. Yeah, we'll get some of those monsters in here. So I think they look so silly.
That's
Which
what
is
I love
fun.
about them, dude.
Yeah. Well, you love the Fast and Furious films, so
Yes, I do. Amen. Preach it.
so you'll love the MonsterVerse. It's the
I'm
same
sure I
level of
will.
seriousness.
I bet the acting's better.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
Oh man, love it. And then something that caught me by surprise. I didn't even know like enough time had passed for this to happen, which kind of made me feel old. But they're remaking Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I'll be honest with you, dude. I don't even know what that is.
That was like the show that like, or the movie that Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt like started their fling on.
Yeah, dude. I have no idea.
Dang, that's crazy. Well, they're
Yep, you're
remaking
gonna.
it. They're both spies, and then they fall in love, but neither one of them know they're spies. It's a really, I mean, I love the first Mr. and Mr. Smith. I had it on a
Uh-huh.
PSP disc. I think I watched it like
Nice.
probably 70 times at least. Um,
That's fun.
Man, yeah. Whenever you got like a PSP movie, like you didn't have streaming options. It was like
Yep.
whatever you had. I remember I had that, and I had Dodgeball. I watched Dodgeball about 7,500 times. Not exaggerating. Vince Vaughn. I always laugh my head off at that guy.
Well, it's fun too because kids growing up nowadays aren't going to experience that. Like they have every movie at their fingertips. But like literally back then, dude, you did have to pop a little disc into your PSP or pray that you got something on DVD that you could, throw into your PS2.
Oh man, I remember I went to like the pawn shop, and was like I went like through the racks for the PSP movies just so I could get something new on a trip,
Yep,
so
yep,
that I could enjoy. Because I never had like a DVD player or something else like that. So once I
yep.
got my PSP, like I didn't even play the games as much as I just love. Like I've
Right.
always been a movie lover. I've
Yep.
always been a movie lover. So yeah. So okay. So not a Mr. and Mrs. Smith fan.
Nah, I don't think
Didn't
that one's
really
gonna gauge
care.
my interest.
Um, I don't know, man. I just love movies, so I'll definitely watch it. Donald Glover's in it. He's starring, and I really like Donald Glover. So we'll see what he does. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I
But
think there's a lot to talk about. A couple of questions. I saw some things this week that I didn't know if you actually. One of them was today, breaking probably about maybe a couple hours ago. Is that we've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but it sounds like it is really catching some speed. Is that the next Mandalorian season will be a movie? So I don't know. I know you said you weren't particularly excited about that. Do you still feel that same way, or do you think a Star Wars movie could be good right now?
I think a Star Wars movie could be good. I don't know if Mandalorian's the way to do it, especially with like how the last season ended.
Hmm.
I like I don't know. I feel like they need to actually capitalize on some better characters. Not saying that he's not, but like we've had 3 seasons of him fleshed out. Like and like they really kind of dropped the ball in season 3 with a bunch of stuff. Trying to push too much into it. Book of Boba Fett. I know you absolutely adored it, but I thought it was rough. Um, and so, like, I don't love. I would like another season to get him back to where he should be before we just, throw a movie out there for a cash grab.
Well, see, I'm very excited for this because, dude, it's been so long since we've had a Star Wars movie, and I cannot wait to be back in the movie theaters and hear that epic, entrance to a Star Wars movie. That has got me so excited. And from the rumors of it, it sounds like this next season or movie of The Mandalorian is going to be kind of getting the whole gang together because it really sounds like the next big movie is going to be everyone versus Thrawn. I love
Right.
that idea. I think that is great. I do kind of agree, though. I wish it wasn't The Mandalorian because The Mandalorian is a show and it really revived Star Wars. Star Wars was not in good shape when Mandalorian came out, and I feel like it really did save Star Wars. I wish they would just keep it as a show just because that's what it is. It is a show. It doesn't need to be turned into a movie. However, I am super excited just to be back in a movie theaters with a Star Wars film.
Man. Well, I'm not gonna complain about it. I'll definitely show up for it.
Yeah.
But I do think that like I would rather have an Ezra movie.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I would rather have an Ahsoka movie or just like continue that show. Like, I just
It doesn't feel right for The Mandalorian to be a movie.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't even necessarily feel wrong. It's just like why a movie? Like, is there actually a story to be told, or are you just cash grabbing? Because
Yeah.
honestly, if we're getting everyone together in these stories that are taking multiple episodes to set up, like, I just don't have the faith that they can do it right. And I
Or
guess
at least
that's
not
my
in an
issue.
interesting way.
Like how long is this movie going to be? Is it going to be a 2.5 hour movie? Which, like, always is like, man, ugh. Like, I can sit through 8 hours of television before I can sit through a 2.5 hour movie. Like, I don't know why, but like, I just feel like I'm worried about the execution. Now I know Dave Filoni's at the helm, and
Yep.
you got to let Dave Filoni cook. But to me, I'm just a little bit worried about it.
That makes sense. I mean, like I said, I'm excited for it just to be back in the movies with Star Wars, but it'll be interesting. I think we'll probably get a lot of rumors and stuff coming out before this. I mean, this is so early on,
Oh
but
man.
I'm interested in it.
I hope the leaks slow down. I have to be so careful because like I don't like seeing the leaks, and like everywhere I'm looking, it's like people are like the leaks are ruining Deadpool, and like I haven't
Oh,
seen any of them, luckily, but like apparently like they're out there. Like I've
they're
actually
they're
like
bad.
really
I've seen a couple, and phew, I wish I couldn't have seen them. And I don't know
They
how true they are because it's the multiverse. So it could be a 30-second clip. It could have no importance to the movie. But man, yeah, you do. If you haven't seen them yet, you don't be clicking on any Marvel related information right now on
I
X or
really haven't
anything
been.
because, dude, it is everywhere. Every time I get on there, it feels like there's another picture leak that I haven't seen before.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, I'll just stay on Marvel Snap instead of X.
And then another thing I saw, which this interested me a lot because it doesn't make any sense for him to be doing this, but I don't know if you saw the news about Andrew Garfield being at a showing of Across the Spider-Verse and like breaking down the movie. I don't know if you saw anything about that, but he was like at
Breaking down the movie.
yeah, he was. It was an interesting thing. He was up on stage while the movie was being played and talking about it, and that was really interesting for me because it's Across the Spider-Verse, and Andrew Garfield had no part of that movie. So a lot of people are taking this as like
is that like a real?
Yes, it was real. Let me see if I can find the thing for it real quick. But I was very interested. Let me make sure. See if I can find it real quick here.
Dude, I have never heard about that.
Yeah, so it was. Where is it at here? Yeah, here it was. It says he was at a screening in London, and he was quoted saying that it was a masterpiece of pure cinema. And he was at this screening, and he was up on stage while they were showing it. He was answering questions and stuff like that. Yeah, Andrew Garfield revealed that the first time he had hosted a Q&A, and he praised. Yeah, that's what it was talking about. He was answering questions. So very interesting to me. If you wanted to look that up, I can send it, or if you wanted to see it, I can send it to you on Twitter or something like that.
Like Clutch Points broke it down or something.
Yeah, it was actually looks like. I mean, it just looks like there's a bunch of pages tweeting about it. But I mean, there's videos of him there answering questions and stuff. And a lot of people think that could be Marvel, sending him out there to maybe kind of start to hint at some things that could be happening in Beyond the Spider-Verse, which we know we're getting that next year. So I'm pretty. That's really got my attention lately because I love Andrew Garfield. He might be my favorite Spider-Man. So that's got me excited. I didn't know if you had seen that or not, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
That's a weird thing to be going on.
So I thought that was interesting, but
yeah, interesting.
Just a little snippet there.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it says it was wonderfully moderated by him. So I guess he moderated the movie, which, again, really strange because he's not in it at all. So,
well, I mean, if you could have a live-action Spider-Man come and visit and, moderate a Spider-Man movie, that would still be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he is such a Spider-Man fan. I mean, it's a real shame that they did him the way they did.
But yeah, that was fun.
Leave it to Sony to pull off some really weird things.
They do. They're always. I'm always questioning stuff that
they're out there. They're out there doing things, man.
One thing I hadn't mentioned to you, I had saved for the podcast, is I actually went and saw the new Hunger Games movie.
Oh man, Songbird and Singers.
Yeah, the Ballad of Songbird and Snakes. And if you are a fan of the Hunger Games, man, dude, it was incredible. I thought it was very good. I even would almost go as far to say it might be the best movie I've seen this year, and there's been some really good movies. But it was
hold on
really
a second.
Good. Man, I'm telling you,
best movie you've seen this year?
Yeah, it was up there. I'm not kidding. It's up there with Guardians Volume 3. The acting was incredible. The story was really fun.
I'm losing respect for you.
Well,
just saying.
Man, I'm telling you.
You watched Across the Spider-Verse. You watched the TNT,
it was up there, man.
TMNT movie.
Up there.
You watched Guardians 3. Oppenheimer came out this year.
Yes, those would be some of the it's at that caliber of movie. And like I said, if you're a Hunger Games fan, I would definitely go see this in the theaters. It was so good. My wife's on a huge kick of the Hunger Games. She just watched all the movies. She's reading through the books now. But dude, it was so good. I loved it.
I'm gonna have to edit this out.
If you're a Hunger Games fan, man, I'm telling you, go see this movie because it was really good. Some of the best acting I've seen in a while. I thought it was really good. Yes, it was really, really good. I was shocked. Okay. And it seems like that seems to be the sentiment around the movie is people are shocked at how good it is. It's really, really good.
I've heard a lot. I follow a bunch of guys that like line up with my views a lot, and they say everyone said it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Everyone says it's not near as good as Catching Fire Part One.
Yeah,
Um,
those movies are.
but
I'm not going to say it's to that level because those are so iconic just because those are the Hunger Games. But this one was really good. I really like the actors that they
yeah,
had in it.
I haven't heard
Um,
anyone put it in their top five movies from this year though.
well, you also got to realize all the movies that came out this year. I did not watch that many of them. So
Yeah.
if it wasn't Marvel, I guess that would really be about. I mean, Oppenheimer's up there. Uh, but yeah, so I really really liked it. It was super good.
Okay. All right.
But you got a lot of you guys. If you guys are watching this, obviously I have not seen a whole lot of stuff. So take my take my stuff with a grain of salt because I like the Fast and Furious movies, as Zane likes to reference.
Which I'm not hating on them. They're just not my flavor anymore. I loved up till five, and then y'all heard my ranking. You know
Yep,
where I stand
we
on
know,
this.
we know, we know.
Uh, but
Even
guys,
if it's wrong.
it's been a good episode. I think I've just enjoyed. I clearly we have a podcast, so we love to talk about things. And guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you're enjoying the show, leave a review if you want. Reach out to us. All the contacting methods will be down in the show notes. If there's a part that you want to skip to, or we try to make sure that we put chapters on it. If you're using Spotify, you can just click on what you want to listen to. But we really appreciate y'all listening to it. We're sorry we missed last week. We both had some things come up that allowed us to not be able to record, but we will be getting the next three out here to you guys for sure. Get ready for that. What if breakdowns and then Echo following right after. So some really fun episodes, and I thank y'all for hanging in for us. But with that, this is Weekly Fix signing off.